It wasn't K-pop that accepted them. It was their fans that saved them. Stray Kids aren't just idols. They've become icons of defiance, of fearless love, of embracing fans without judgment. They challenge stereotypes. They bend fashion norms. They stand with the LGBTQ community when others remain silent. How did 8 boys from a conservative culture become symbols of freedom for queer fans around the world? What made a group of young men from South Korea, a country known for its long-standing traditions, cultural conservatism, and unspoken rules about gender and sexuality, become one of the loudest and clearest voices for love and acceptance for the LGBTQ community in the world? How did 8 boys who auditioned for a survival show in 2017 become global icons whose music, fashion, and presence resonated with millions, not just as entertainers, but as allies, safe havens, and symbols of change? This is the story of Stray Kids. Born under JYP Entertainment, Stray Kids began their journey with uncertainty, like any rookie group. When they debuted, they weren't expected to carry the torch of cultural revolution. They simply pursued their dream, to make music that was powerful, raw, and bold. Their name, Stray Kids, symbolized rebellion and freedom. Kids who rejected the mold, kids who were willing to be different. That spirit of defiance against conformity, against silence, would one day be perfectly aligned with the fight for LGBTQ visibility. Just a few years later, Stray Kids is no longer just a K-pop group. They are Billboard chart toppers, selling out stadiums across continents, performing at the MTV VMAs, dominating the Billboard 200 with 6 consecutive #1 albums, a feat only a handful of artists in the world have achieved. They walked the red carpet at the 2024 Met Gala, wearing Tommy Hilfiger's signature designs that exuded inclusivity. They have become household names not only in Seoul and Tokyo, but also in Los Angeles, Paris, London, and Sao Paulo. Their fandom, Stay, now has millions of fans, spanning every country and culture, united not just by music, but by something deeper, a sense of belonging. But here's the surprise: Stray Kids didn't stop at music. Unlike many other K-pop groups that remain silent on social issues due to cultural bias, Stray Kids did something groundbreaking. They spoke up, they showed up, they embraced, and perhaps without even meaning to, they became one of the most prominent K-pop groups to support the LGBTQ community through their words, their fashion, their gestures, and their presence. Think about it. A leader like Bang Chan, standing in front of tens of thousands of people in Los Angeles, paused between songs and said, "Everyone is welcome here. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you identify as, you belong here." For fans who grew up LGBTQ in conservative households, those words were more than just a superficial declaration. They were lifelines. Or Changbin stepping out in Nike Be True sneakers, a small but powerful tribute to pride. Or Lee No quietly donning safety pin earrings, a universal symbol of allyship, telling LGBTQ fans without words, "You're safe with me." Or Felix, who saw a fan holding up a bisexual's Love Felix sign and placing her hand on her heart, smiling with tears in her eyes, acknowledging that love in a gesture more powerful than any words. Even their fashion sense speaks volumes. At the Met Gala, their outfits exuded sophistication, diversity, and individuality, a bold statement in a world where idols are often pressured to conform. At New York Fashion Week 2025, Lee No and Felix debuted as genderless fashion icons, proving that masculinity and femininity can coexist, blend, and shine on the same runway. But the Stray Kids story is about more than just individuals. It's about a group, a collective voice. Together, they've turned their concerts into safe spaces where rainbow flags fly proudly, where queer fans dance fearlessly, where chants of "You belong" resonate above the bass. Their fandom, Stay, reflects this inclusivity. Queer fans, straight fans, fans of all identities, standing together, celebrating music and love without borders. And perhaps this is why Stray Kids are more than just idols. They're symbols of a generation tired of silence. They show that you don't have to be an activist on a podium to make a difference. You can be a guy with a microphone, a smile, a pair of sneakers, or a rainbow filter, and still change the world for someone. So as we embarked on this journey, we asked ourselves, what makes Stray Kids not just entertainers, but allies? How did 8 young men from a culture steeped in conservatism become role models for millions of queer fans around the world? And more importantly, what can we as a society learn from their example? Because this isn't just a story about music. It's also about courage, inclusion, and the undeniable truth that love in all its forms deserves to be celebrated. From their meteoric rise on the Billboard charts to their Met Gala triumph, Stray Kids have shown us they're more than just a K-pop group. But if global success explains their influence, it doesn't explain their resonance. What truly makes millions of fans feel seen, loved, and safe isn't just their music, but the lyrics, the values, the courage behind the stage. And no one embodies that more clearly than their leader, Bang Chan. In 2020, Los Angeles became the stage for their District 9 Unlock World Tour. The atmosphere inside the stadium was electric. Tens of thousands of fans shouting in unison, lights cutting through the air, and the deep bass reverberating in every chest. In the middle of the frenzy, Chan paused. Holding the microphone, he gazed across the ocean of fans and spoke words that stretched far beyond the concert walls. Everyone is welcome here. No matter who you are, where you come from, or how you identify, you belong here. It was a simple message, delivered mid-show. But for queer fans, it was seismic. Many had never heard an idol, especially one from South Korea, where LGBTQ+ topics are still taboo, say something so clear, so direct, so affirming. Some cried in the crowd, overwhelmed by the realization that for the first time in this space, their identities were not only accepted, but celebrated. Others later wrote online that the words had saved them, given them the courage to continue living in a world where they often felt invisible. Bang Chan's message wasn't a rehearsed social act. It wasn't a scripted speech from a record label. It was a heartfelt, visceral speech. The words of someone who knows what it's like to be left out and wants to make sure no one in his audience ever has to feel that way. That's what leadership is all about. Not just leading a team to greatness, but leading a fan base that feels like family. And what made the moment all the more powerful was that Chan wasn't alone. Behind him, the rest of Stray Kids, Lino, Changbin, Hyunjin, Han, Felix, Sungmin, In, nodded, smiled, raised their hands to the crowd. It wasn't just the voice of one person. It was the voice of 8, united. That unity transformed the stadium into something more than a concert. It became a refuge, a safe space, a place where rainbow flags fly proudly, where queer fans hug each other, where everyone feels, if only for a night, that love has no conditions. Since then, Stray Kids has carried that spirit with them wherever they go. Their concerts are now known as inclusive spaces, where fans of all backgrounds, genders, and sexualities come together under one name, Stay. Online, countless LGBTQ+ fans share how SKZ's music empowers them, how Chan's lyrics play in their heads when they feel scared, and how the group's acceptance allows them to imagine a better future. And in the world of K-pop, where silence on such issues is the norm, this act of openness is nothing short of revolutionary. Even in their fashion, the group reflects Chan's spirit of freedom and acceptance. At the 2024 Met Gala, Stray Kids wore custom Tommy Hilfiger looks, each tailored to celebrate individuality in unity. There were no flashy rainbows or political slogans, but they didn't need to. The act of standing on stage, representing Korea while also showing diversity and boldness, sent a message. We're here, we're different, and that difference is beautiful. When Chan walked with his members that night, he wasn't just leading Stray Kids down one of the most iconic red carpets in the world. He was leading an entire generation into a future where being yourself is celebrated, not suppressed. For many fans, Bang Chan has become more than a leader. He has become a symbol of safety. His late-night live streams often include gentle reminders like, "Don't be too hard on yourself," or "You're not alone." For queer fans, those reminders feel like direct lifelines, especially when paired with his public statement of acceptance. Chan understands that leadership is not about commanding authority, but about giving comfort. It's about ensuring that the most vulnerable feel seen. And here lies the larger truth. When a global figure like Bang Chan speaks, he chips away at the silence that has long suffocated discussions about gender and sexuality in Asia. He shows that tradition and acceptance do not have to be enemies. He shows that a leader can carry both responsibility and empathy, both success and inclusivity. So what lesson do we take from this? That words matter. A single sentence, spoken sincerely, can change someone's life. That leadership is not measured only in trophies or chart records, but in how you make people feel. Whether you give them a home in a world that often pushes them out. And now, I want to turn this question to you. Bang Chan stood on a stage in Los Angeles and told the world that everyone belongs. How did those words resonate with you? And as you're watching this video right now, tell us, where are you tuning in from? Drop your country in the comments below. Because just like Stray Kids, we want to remind you, no matter where you are, or who you love, you belong here too. If Bang Chan's words carved out a safe space for stays, then Changbin's fashion carved out a symbol. He may not be the loudest when it comes to public speeches, but every piece of clothing, every accessory, every silhouette he chooses seems to carry a quiet but powerful message. And in the world of K-pop, where nothing is accidental, those choices matter. One of the most memorable examples was when Changbin was seen wearing the Nike Air Vapor Max Plus True, a sneaker released as part of Nike's Pride Month collection. To most casual observers, it was a pair of stylish kicks. But to queer fans, it was a beacon. The True wasn't just another shoe. It was a declaration of allyship designed specifically to honor the LGBTQ+ community. For Changbin to wear it, on camera, in public, as an idol scrutinized from head to toe, it was his way of saying, "I see you, I stand with you." In K-pop, where every earring, every hairstyle, every stitch of fabric can ignite discussions across fan forums, Changbin's choice did not go unnoticed. Fans took screenshots, shared them online, and for many LGBTQ+ stays, it was a moment of recognition. A small act, yes, but one that echoed louder than any speech. Because sometimes support doesn't arrive in the form of grand declarations. Sometimes it arrives in the form of sneakers. But Changbin's allyship doesn't stop at fashion. As one of the core members of 3RACHA, Stray Kids' in-house production trio with Bang Chan and Han, he has helped craft the very sound of the group. Their music has always been about breaking boxes, refusing to fit into the mold of what K-pop should sound like. Songs like Miro, Thunderous, and God's Menu are not just bangers. They're anthems about identity, about defiance, about daring to be different. To queer fans, those lyrics resonate like a mirror. You don't have to fit into the world's box, you can build your own. During performances, Changbin embodies that same message. He is bold, powerful, and unapologetically himself. When Stray Kids performed Case 143, a love song with gender-neutral lyrics that could be about anyone, Changbin delivered his rap verses with ferocity, while the group's choreography included playful, romantic gestures between male members. For queer fans, it was more than just fan service. It was validation, proof that their love stories deserve a place on the stage too. Even on stage, Stray Kids, as a group, amplified this message through their collective fashion choices. At the 2024 Met Gala, the group wore tailored Tommy Hilfiger suits, classic yet bold, paired with a subtle color palette that evoked inclusivity. At New York Fashion Week 2025, Changbin and his bandmates leaned into bold shapes and genderless designs, creating a ripple across fashion media about K-pop's role in pushing boundaries. Standing next to Felix in unisex outfits or Hyunjin in romantic, arty pieces, Changbin's sporty, grounded style became part of the larger picture, a statement that masculinity can be redefined. And perhaps that's what makes Changbin's presence so important. He doesn't shout his support. He embodies that. Through his music, fashion, and performance, he delivers messages that LGBTQ+ fans can hold. Sneakers are never just sneakers. Raps are never just words. Stage moves are never just choreography. They are all coded reminders that at Stray Kids, difference is celebrated, not erased. For young fans struggling with their identity in conservative families or rigid societies, Changbin offers a subtle but essential lesson. You don't have to come out as who you are to be valued. You don't have to fit into expectations to be worthy of respect. Even the smallest act of authenticity can be an act of rebellion and an act of hope. The lesson we can learn from Changbin is that allyship isn't always about speeches or sensational headlines. Sometimes it's the details, a shoe, a lyric, a look that whisper louder than a scream, and enough whispers turn into a roar. The future of LGBTQ+ rights isn't based on laws or marches. It's based on the small, everyday choices we make to be inclusive, to represent, to stand together. When idols like Changbin use fashion as their language and music as their voice, they show us that everyone has the power to normalize acceptance. And in that normalization lies the seed of a world where no one has to explain why they're worthy of love. Not all heroes give grand speeches. Some heroes don't even need to speak. They just raise their eyebrows, put on a tiny piece of jewelry, and suddenly the world listens. Lee Know is that guy. While Bang Chan might give emotional speeches and Felix might shower his fans with rainbow filters and heart gestures, Lee Know operates differently. His method? Quiet, intentional symbolism. Picture this. Lee Know on stage, spotlights piercing the darkness, the crowd roaring. He tilts his head, and there it is, the glint of a safety pin earring. To the uninitiated, it's just an accessory. But to the connoisseur, it's a beacon. The safety pin has a history. After Brexit in the UK and the Trump election in the US, people started wearing safety pins to silently show solidarity with minority communities, including LGBTQ+ people. The message was simple. You're safe with me. Now imagine you're a queer fan in that crowd. You've spent your life deciphering every signal, reading every gesture to figure out where you stand. And here's Lee Know, saying nothing but telling you everything. The earring whispers, I see you, I stand with you. What makes it even more powerful is Lee Know's personality. He's not the type to burst into tears on stage or pour his heart out in long speeches. He's calm, serious, sometimes even intimidating. So when he chooses to wear a symbol of allyship, it carries weight. Like a strong, quiet person finally cracking a smile, it means the world. For LGBTQ+ fans, that moment of realization is less an accessory and more like a shield. And not just any jewelry. Lee Know has always been a master of saying more with less. In performances like Domino and Case 143, Stray Kids incorporated choreography that blurred the lines of traditional masculinity. The male members danced very close together, their gestures expressing intimacy, and Lee Know delivered it with his signature intensity. No hesitation, no shyness, just trust. For queer fans, it wasn't just dancing, it was recognition. It was an implicit declaration. Love is love, and it belongs on this stage too. But don't think Lee Know is all serious. There's a certain charm to his deadpan humor and sharp wit. Fans often joke that his way of showing affection is to tease you first. That's what makes his quiet support all the more endearing. It's unpretentious, unforced, just Lee No being Lee No. Imagine someone who teases you mercilessly and then stands in front of the world with the slogan, "Play with them, you play with me." That's allyship with a little attitude. The group dynamic is important here too. Stray Kids isn't a collection of solo artists. They're a band of brothers. When Chan speaks, when Changbin puts on pride shoes, when Felix waves to a bisexual fan, Lee No complements it with his quiet rebellion. Together they create layers of support. Words, fashion, gestures, performances. Each member has their own color, and Lee No's is subtle but memorable. The muted hue that completes the rainbow. For him, fashion is more than just looking good. At New York Fashion Week 2025, Lee No and Felix made a strong impression with Tommy Hilfiger's genderless designs. While Felix leaned into soft, delicate details, Lee No brought sharp lines and clear structures. Standing side by side, they look like two halves of the same coin, different energies, but the same message. Individuality is power. Seeing two male K-pop idols take to the Western runway with a style that goes beyond traditional masculine norms and own it, that's an image that fans will remember forever. The lesson here? That synchronicity doesn't have to be shouted. It can be whispered, it can be winked, it can be worn quietly on the earlobe like a safety pin. And sometimes those whispers go further than the loudest slogans. Because they're real, because they're close, because they're lived. So as you watch this film, think about the power of subtlety. Think about how small actions, an accessory, a dance move, a glance, can bring safety to people who have never felt safe. That's what Lee No teaches us. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to change lives. Sometimes the most powerful allies are the quietest. Now we'd love to hear from you. Do you see yourself in Lee No's quiet power? Do you believe that small actions can create big change? And most importantly, where in the world are you watching this video? Leave your country in the comments below. We'd love to hear where this message is going. And if this story of allyship resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We have more powerful stories coming your way. Your support will help us continue to shine a light on important voices. If Stray Kids were a galaxy, Felix would be its sun, the one whose warmth makes everything a little brighter, a little gentler, a little safer. Fans often describe him as sunshine in human form, but in the LGBTQ+ community, he's so much more. A quiet healer, a beacon of kindness in a world that doesn't always know how to be kind. Think back to that unforgettable moment, a fan holding up a handwritten sign that read, "Bisexuals love Felix." The crowd was buzzing, the music was pumping, but Felix saw it. He paused for a second, put his hand on his heart, smiled a heartbreakingly genuine smile, and nodded. No words, no grand speech, just a gesture. But in that moment, the message resonated louder than any hymn. I see you, I respect you, I accept you. For queer fans in the room, it felt like someone had parted the clouds and let the light in. Felix's strength lies in this paradox. He is delicate but never weak. His voice is deep, a rare deepness for someone with such a soft face. But when he speaks to fans, it's honeyed. He has a rare ability to look directly into the camera or wave to the crowd and somehow make them feel close, as if he were talking to himself. For queer fans who often live in denial or misunderstanding, Felix's acceptance is a balm. And then there's his style. Felix has never conformed to the rules of traditional masculinity. Why should he? Life is too short for boring outfits. Some days he struts out of the airport in an oversized coat and pearl earrings. Other days he appears on stage in a flowing, metallic-hued dress over his trousers. He paints his nails, wears rings on every finger, and experiments with hair colors like an artist with an infinite palette. Never out of place, he pulls off every style with the confidence of someone who understands that identity is fluidity and fashion is freedom. Fans have dubbed him a gender-neutral fashion icon, and it's not hard to see why. Each outfit is a message to LGBTQ+ youth. You don't have to choose between boxes. You don't have to blur yourself to fit in. You can shine in whatever shade you want. And it's not just the clothes. It's the permission. The permission Felix gives anyone watching to live a little stronger, a little freer. Of course, his gentleness doesn't stop at his appearance. Felix is famous for giving out confetti hugs. He'll hold a member tight in his arms when he's feeling a little stressed, rub their backs, whisper encouragement. Even on live streams, he offers comfort through his words. Don't forget that you're loved. I hope you're eating well. Take care of yourself. They may sound simple, almost ordinary, but for those who hear them after a day of struggling with discrimination or hiding their true selves, they can be a lifesaver. Felix also has an uncanny ability to balance gentleness and playfulness. He can tease a member, laugh at the silliest expressions, and then turn around and give you a hug so sincere it'll melt your heart. That contrast, joy and gentleness, is what makes him so appealing. It shows queer fans, especially those who are perceived as too much or too different, that they can be complex, multifaceted, and still completely lovable. It's no surprise that Felix has become a beloved face in the LGBTQ+ community. In a world where masculinity is often equated with toughness, he redefines strength with vulnerability, compassion, and acceptance. He proves that tenderness isn't the absence of strength, it's the presence of it. And maybe that's why so many people are drawn to him. Because he embodies the love the world needs more of. And perhaps that is the core of Felix's legacy, not just as a performer and a fashion icon, but as a human being. He reminds us that true power lies in kindness, and that healing often comes not from grand speeches, but from small, consistent acts of love. However, Felix never shines alone. His gentleness is amplified by the group around him. Stray Kids' greatest strength has always been their unity. 8 voices, 8 personalities, 8 colors blending into a harmonious whole. Bang Chan may be the leader, but each member is a pillar, supporting the safe space their fandom has created. For LGBTQ+ fans, that solidarity is more than entertainment, it's a lifeline. This is the truth they live by. Being different is not a weakness, it's a strength. Being gentle is not a flaw, it's your light. And in a world that can sometimes be too harsh, it's your love, your identity, your presence that makes you beautiful. Stray Kids, through every lyric, every performance, every quiet gesture of solidarity, prove one thing. When you dare to stand together for love, you become invincible. And that's their gift to the LGBTQ+ community. Not just music, not just fashion, but the courage to exist, to be present, to be celebrated. From the very beginning, Stray Kids have carried the spirit of outsiders who refuse to be tamed. They weren't the polished golden boys of K-pop when they started. They were rough around the edges, different, unconventional, stray kids in every sense of the word. And perhaps that is exactly why they became the perfect allies for a community that knows all too well what it means to live outside the lines. The LGBTQ+ community. Across the years, their support has gone beyond words. At NYC Pride, they didn't hide in the shadows. They joined, they celebrated, they embraced. For queer fans who often grew up feeling isolated or erased, watching Stray Kids publicly stand in solidarity was more than representation. It was healing. It told them, you belong here, in this crowd, in this moment, in this world. Yes, they've conquered global stages from Seoul to Paris, from Billboard charts to stadiums packed with screaming fans. But their true legacy is not measured in trophies or magazine covers. It is measured in the tears of a fan who finally feels safe holding hands with someone they love at a concert. It is in the smile of a teenager who paints their nails like Felix because for the first time, they feel it's okay. It is in the relief of someone hearing Bang Chan's words echo in their head on a day they almost gave up. But perhaps the most powerful statement is not what happens on stage or red carpets. It is what happens within their fandom. Stay. Stray Kids concerts are no longer just performances. They are sanctuaries. Fans bring rainbow flags, same-sex couples hold hands openly, and queer youth, who may never feel safe at home or school, dance freely for the first time. The message is clear. This is your space. This is your family. You are not just tolerated here. You are celebrated. That culture doesn't appear by accident. It is shaped by the members' choices, their gestures, their refusal to stay silent. When Bang Chan paused in Los Angeles to tell fans that everyone is welcome, he planted a seed of safety. When Lee No quietly wore a safety pin earring, he nurtured it. When Felix placed his hand on his chest in recognition of bisexual fans, he let it bloom. Together, these actions created a garden where millions of queer fans could finally breathe and grow. It's easy to dismiss pop music as shallow entertainment, but Stray Kids have shown it can be a cultural revolution. Their lyrics speak of struggle and defiance, their performances embody freedom, their fashion breaks rules, and their humanity creates safe havens. They remind us that art is never just art. It is a mirror of the times, a challenge to the status quo, and a blueprint for the future. And this future, if Stray Kids have anything to say about it, is one where love has no qualifiers, where gay love, straight love, queer love all dissolve into the same truth. Love is love. Where a kid questioning their identity doesn't have to whisper in shame, but can shout in pride. Where allyship is not performative, but lived, day by day, in gestures both big and small. So what do we take away from their journey? That visibility matters. That gestures, even subtle ones, can save lives. That when celebrities use their platforms to affirm, protect, and uplift, they change culture itself. And most of all, that respect and protection of LGBTQ+ love isn't just the responsibility of a community, it's the responsibility of us all. For the young people watching this, whether you're a fan of Stray Kids or simply someone searching for belonging, remember this. The greatest act of courage is to live authentically, and the greatest act of love is to protect the right of others to do the same. So here's the lesson. The one that outlives every stage and every spotlight. The greatest act of courage is to live authentically, and the greatest act of love is to defend the right of others to do the same. Stray Kids began as outliers, unsure of where they belonged. Today, they stand as leaders, proving that when you protect love, you protect humanity itself. Respect love, protect love. And never let anyone convince you that any love, gay, straight, queer, trans, is less worthy of celebration. Stray Kids have proven that music is more than just rhythm and sound. It can be refuge, it can be courage, it can be love. Through their voices, their fashion, and their bold choices, they have built a haven where the LGBTQ community is not only accepted, but celebrated. And through this journey, they have left us with an everlasting message. Love in all its forms is precious and worthy of being seen. Thank you for being with us this far, for opening up and believing in a world where love doesn't need to be hidden. Your presence here matters more than you think. But perhaps the most powerful truth is yet to come. The stories that haven't been told, the voices waiting to be heard, the changes we've only just begun to witness. Don't miss out on what's coming. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because together, we're not just watching stories unfold, we're shaping the future of love, equality, and freedom.